Hi, I'm Michael P. Coleman, Content Director for Brother Be Well. I want to invite you to this particular production. It's a partnership with our friends at the Hawk Institute, and it's our monthly How to Be a Man session. We're going to talk about a variety of topics during the series. Tonight's talk is on the topic of perseverance, something that's critically important for anybody living a life, right? You got to learn to be persistent. You fall, you got to learn to get up. And we're going to talk about that with a multi-generational group of folks today. I hope you enjoy what you're going to see. First of all, let me introduce you to the panel that's going to join me. AJ Hurd is one of our youth participants. AJ, what's up? Welcome to Brother Be Well.
Hey, how's it going? I'm glad to be here.
Really good to have you. Really good to have you. Next up, we got from the Hog Institute COO, Andre Warren. Andre, always good to be with you, my friend.
How you doing, Michael? I'm glad to be here.
Appreciate it. We're gonna work it all out, and then we got Isaiah Matthews. Isaiah Matthews, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, doing well this evening.
Really good to see you. You're doing that hard mentorship work every day in the schools. Really appreciate seeing you. We've got Mustafa Zuwaini as well from the Hawk Institute. How you doing, Mustafa?
I'm doing phenomenal. Thanks for having me here.
Really good to have you. Love that lighting in the background, dude. I love the way that's looking.
Yeah, it looks very nice.
Appreciate it. And to wrap us all up, my buddy Patrick Ma. He's a physician assistant and clinician. He's a Brother Be Well advisor. One of my favorite people on this planet, Patrick Ma. How you doing, Patrick?
Hey, Michael. Good to see ya.
Really good to see you too. Let's get at this topic. We've got a couple videos that I want to show you today. We're going to take a look at some videos and then talk about them. Really, some powerful video pieces we found. But let's set this topic up a little bit. And I started it out. Perseverance, I don't know, as I look back over my life, without it, nothing that's good that's come out of my life would have really been possible. You got to really learn to persevere, and things don't always go according to plan. And you got to be willing to deviate from the plan and change the plan. But let's just talk about that a little bit. Just take a couple of minutes. Is everybody nodding, or would you disagree that perseverance is really something that's quite critical that you got to have in your back pocket to pull out anytime you need it? Thumbs up from you, Patrick. Andre, you're feeling the same way about that. Andre, if you don't mind my saying this, we were getting ready to set up. You said that's your life story. Perseverance kind of represents your life story. You want to share a part of that before we get into that first video?
Yes, Michael. For me, when I thought about this topic, perseverance, like I tell some of the students I work with, or youth, I can tell you firsthand, I was a high school, what they call dropout, but which I call a push out. And when that story that goes with if you do not graduate or finish school, the effects of the aftermath of what happens, I was that product. I end up, being a street hustler, working menial jobs, if I get those, without graduating. I was incarcerated. I had a bout with alcoholism. But one day I woke up and says, I'm tired of this. I said, I need to do something different. And I went back to school. The institution I thought I didn't like, I went back to school, and I struggled at first, but I graduated from the junior college. I ended up having 5 AA degrees. I was told that I wasn't able to go to the university because my financial aid was running out. And I asked them, well, why can't I go? They said, well, because you might only be able to make one semester. I said, get me in the door, I'll do the rest. I graduated both the junior college and the university with honors. So that to me was my perseverance as far as, I fell down several times, but in the end, I kept on getting up.
You reminded me, Andre, I remember transferring from, I just was sharing with my new friend, AJ. He's a civil engineering major, and I just kind of had to bow to that because I barely escaped engineering school with my life, had to change a major really quickly. But years later, I transferred to another university, and because I had so much trouble academically to start, and because of some life situations, my grades weren't great, but transferring to this other university, to the University of Michigan, I'll never forget getting a call from a counselor, admissions counselor. And she said, I'm just letting you know, we're not going to accept you. I was working on campus at the time. She said, I'm calling you as a courtesy. I'm not going to accept you. And I said, where's your office? And she told me, and I walked over. I said, I'll be there in 5 minutes. I walk over, and she kind of had the fear of God. And I said, look, I didn't want to be a number. I'm just a number on an application right now. I am telling you that if you don't accept me to the University of Michigan, it will be the biggest professional mistake you have ever made. And she kind of leans back, and I just made a case. I said, those numbers, that old GPA doesn't reflect who I am right now. I'm now a husband and a father. I'm motivated. I know I have to get this degree. That's a whole different thing than being 18 and you show up on a campus where the legal drinking age was 18 and I partied that freshman year. AJ, don't listen to me when I talk about partying in your freshman year. Don't do it, but I did. I got a feeling Patrick might have too. Andre, I don't know about you, but I partied at first. But I remember thinking I have to make a case for myself. And if this woman doesn't let me in, I'm going to go somewhere else, but I'm going to prove her wrong. And like you, Andre, I graduated with high honors from the University of Michigan. And guess what I did? I went back to that counselor and said, hey, sister, look at this now. This is the person you weren't going to let in. So any other quick, before we get into that video, any quick stories of perseverance that we want to share publicly before we get into that first video? We'll have some time later today, but I just want to give everybody else a chance to share something if you want to.
You know, Michael, I'll be here all day. As a person of color, it's what we deal with. And especially as an immigrant, you know, it's not uncommon to be doubted based on your ability to speak English as a language. You know, even though many Americans are, you know, just unilingual and bilingual, but I am looked down upon because I don't speak the language properly. So community college, all of us went to community college because we're smart. I'm just kidding. You save so much money going to community college. It's a good choice, especially for us men of colors. My very first semester took the harder course I've ever taken. Is anatomy and physiology. For those of you who go to medical field, you know, that's a requirement. And it's one of the toughest courses you will take in your prerequisite. I went to the professor because I didn't quite understand what she was saying the whole time. Give you a little bit of background. I was 19. I've been in the US for 2 years. I spoke English, but not quite as well as I do now. And I went to the professor during office hours and asked for assistance. I asked her, hey, like, I don't speak English very well, but I'm willing to work hard. What can I do? You know, do you have any resources that I can tap into? And I want to be successful in this course. And my goal at the time was to be a nurse. And she looked me in the face and said, you should drop the major. I don't think you can be a nurse. My heart sank. Like it just, you know, my heart dropped. I've never had anybody told me that kind of, you know, discourage me so much when I have done nothing wrong. And, you know, I walked out there, I was crying a little bit, but then I have no choice. I have to be successful because I know I want to be in medical field. Just like Andrea and Michael's story, I was number 1 in her class. I have 99% on every single exam without fail. And when I walked out of that classroom, you know, on the final day, I knew I got an A on my final because, you know, I walked up to her without, you know, she even graded my exam and told her, you know, I know I got an A on this exam. And just so you know, I wasn't dumb. I just didn't speak English properly. So that was one of my, you know, story. But I do want to mention something that we can discuss later down the road. Yes, perseverance is important. And yes, perseverance is celebrated. But there's a term that I just make up. I don't know if it's real. Perseverance fatigue. Because for many of us who are men of colors, we always have to be, you know, we always have to have perseverance. Sometimes I don't want to persevere. I just want to relax. But that's not the case. So let's discuss later on.
Well, we'll discuss later on, but this is not the perseverance fatigue video, Patrick Ma. This is the perseverance video. So get your act together, sir. That's weird. We'll talk about perseverance fatigue another time. All right. Let's talk about perseverance. Let's take a look at this first video. All kidding aside, Inky Johnson, he's a motivational speaker. He's a former college football player, I believe. And he's got a story that you really want to see. This video is just short of 10 minutes, I think. We'll take a look at it. And then I've got a few questions to kind of prompt us. I want to encourage you to pay attention to him walking through his own story. He talks about a roadblock, much like the roadblocks that Andre and Patrick and I have shared. He talks about hitting a roadblock and then coming back to one of the people who opposed him. Pay attention to what that person said to him after the fact, because I really want to talk about that when we wrap up, in addition to a couple other things. But let's take a look at that Inky Johnson video.
Got my head up, he gets to my feet and he's coming back up my body and he poses the question, what's your plan, little man? I said, man, I'm going D1, going to college. He said, you'll probably end up in cell block D1. And he went to walk off. I walked with him. I tapped his arm. He turned around. I said, you got the wrong guy. He said, no, I know about you. Sarcasm kicks in. He said, didn't you have 2 uncles that came to the same school? I said, yes, sir. He said, weren't they little athletes just like you? Like people talked about them and how they could play sports and all that? I said, yes, sir. He said, aren't they serving 13 and 40 years at the federal penitentiary, not even 10 minutes away from these front doors? I said, yes, sir. He said, absolutely. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You'll probably end up in cell block D1. Walked off. I walked with him. I tapped his chest. He turned around. I said, I'm telling you, you got the wrong guy. He said, we'll see. I said, we will. And I had this dream that, man, if I could just make it to the NFL, I could get my mother off of that double shift at Wendy's. Like, man, if I can make it to the NFL, me and my cousins, we won't have to miss meals. If I could just make it to that NFL, man, everything would make sense. And when I got my scholarship from Tennessee, you know the first person I went to see? That cop. I went to him and he said something to me and it rang so true. I slipped my paper across the table to him and he stood up and he said, I want to ask you a question. How did you do it? He said, every kid that comes in these doors, they say that. But they end up selling drugs across the street at the gas station. Or they end up going to prison, going to jail. Like everybody wants something out of life. He said, the reason I said that to you, he said, I want you to understand something. I'm here every day. He said, the only reason I said it to you, he said, I wasn't even trying to break you. I just wanted to see would you be willing to fight for the thing that you said you wanted when somebody came at you and they tried to crush you and say because of your family history, because of your lineage, you're probably going to end up just like them. I wanted to see would you be willing to fight for what you said you wanted. Coming into my junior year, I get my paperwork back from the NFL. And I'm a projected first-round draft pick. Who knew? Kid from a 2-bedroom home, 14 people. And I come out my first game, have a great game, and the quarterback just so happens to drop back, and he releases the ball to a guy coming down my sideline. And as soon as I made contact with the guy, I knew something was wrong. It seemed as if every breath in my body left, my body went completely limp. I fell to the ground, I blacked out. That had never happened to me before. My eyes open, my teammates ran over to me and said, Ink, get up, let's rock, let's close it out, let's go. I said, I can't. There's a shot going from my neck to my toes, I can't feel anything. And I remember they brought the spine board out, put me on it, they're wheeling me off to the field. Doctors came running from the opposite side and the lead doctor says, guys, get in here, we gotta rush this kid back to emergency surgery, he's about to die. You ruptured a subclavian artery in your chest, you're bleeding internally. We don't take you back and perform surgery right now. He said, you won't be here in the morning. And the game of football on my skull of life was that big. The NFL, that big. And I'm like, man, Ink, was that it? Like, that's all you really wanted? Was a contract from the NFL? That was it? I was embarrassed. I just got up every day, went through drills, and man, I'm gonna make it to the NFL. That'll be it. No value, no substance, nothing. There's a quote that says, when do a person start to really live? When a person has encountered death. Now, I'd encountered death and I had survived it, and I guarantee you, it was literally as if somebody pulled the shades up on my life and they said, now you see life for what it's really worth. You thought it was about the NFL. Now you really see life for what it's really worth. Like, I thought I was driven when I played sports, but man, every day I get up, that drive different. Like every single day, I get up to impact lives. That is why I go at life with the drive, the dedication, and the commitment level that I do. And when adversity, opposition, and the thing that should have crushed me, I step back, I embrace it and say, life, that's all you got? This was your best shot? And I find it amazing, man, how in life, people say, man, I'm gonna do something. I'm on fire, I'm committed to it. But a change in circumstance, a change in situation, I don't get what I thought I was going to get. Now the mission that they once set out on to change the world or impact people, it means nothing to them. As long as what you do and what you're connected to serves a greater purpose than just yourself, son, you will always trample the opposition. You will always trample the adversity. You will always trample the challenges of life. One thing about it, character is not something that you're born with. Character is something that you get up every single day, you fight and you build it. And every single day, the process is happening constantly in life through opposition, through adversity, and through challenges. At the end of the day, it's about who we become, and it's about what we give. Go get it.
That pumps you up, doesn't it? Inky Johnson sharing his own personal story of facing adversity and the perseverance that it took, that he had to muster somehow to push through that.